Hello, everyone. I am so excited to be joining you. I am Bree Carroll. We are going to get into a really fun session all about the power of relationships. Let me pull up my slides and we can go ahead and get started. Sharing slides. Let's give it a second. Boom, here we go. Here we go. I hope you guys are ready to get started. We are going to talk all about the power of relationships and what I like to call a head count to success. So, thank you so much for joining me to chat a little bit about relationships. You will find that I am passionate about relationships. But let's dive in. I don't want to delay you any longer. So, before I do, like everybody do a phone check real quick. Just check out your phone. Does your battery stay low? And I know this is not a trick question, guys. I really want to know, does your battery stay low? If you're anything like me, I'm pretty bad about it. And I actually learned a good lesson around my battery being low. I was talking to one of my friends, my good girlfriends, who, if you know anything about relationships like this, maybe you have a friend who you're not in the same location, but every time you get together, it's like you're picking right up where you left off. Well, that is my friend Ashley, and I was having a great FaceTime with her. We were chatting, getting caught up, sharing what's going on with the kids and some updates that were happening in our life. And you know what happened? Mid conversation, it was getting good too. My phone went black, y'all. My phone had died. It was a wrap. It just died. And I was so upset. And you know, when your phone is dead, it takes a minute for it to come back. When you're trying to charge it, you're trying to rush and hurry up and make the things happen. And lo and behold, when my phone finally does fully charge and I'm able to call her back, I check Facebook and she done put my battery life business all in these virtual streets. Like, I was hurt. She came for me and she said, honestly, sis, there is no reason why your battery is on like red all the time. So I took that and I internalized that. And she was really honest with me about my battery life. And I know it seems like a little thing, but you know, every other time I talk to her, I'm fully charged up or I got my charger right close to me so that I don't let it happen again. I say that to say and ask you, does your battery stay low? And I'm asking this from not just for the device though, but oftentimes our battery life on our phone may be a reflection of what we have going on internally. So everybody look at your phone. Is your battery life greater than or less than 30%? If your battery life is greater than 30, give me the little thumbs up emoji. If it's less, you can go ahead and put the thumbs down. And I ask that because I wonder also, where are you personally? Sis, what is your battery life like for yourself? And I think it's interesting as we talk about the power of relationships. I think of it like a battery charger, right? Our interactions and relationship, is that building us up or are those interactions draining us? And I think this is going to be our time to take a deeper dive and kind of look at the power that can come from relationships and ensuring that it's the type of energy that you need to move forward. So, if so, maybe your battery does stay low, right? Who is reminding you to charge it? In my story, it was my friend Ashley, my ace boon coon. She was the one that was reminding me, like, you might wanna not do that anymore, right? Well, anyone that may come to mind when asked this question will fall into three categories, and we're going to talk about all three of these relationships. Relationship with yourself is the first one we will be discussing. The second one, relationship with your spouse. For all my married people out there, drop some hearts if you are married. These are my people. This is what I love to talk about. And then the third, relationship with others. So that's friends or family members, just outside people, and that fit into the other category. All right. So we're going to do a power study, okay? So in this power study, we're going to define some things. We're going to define the value of your greatest asset, and I'm not going to give it away just yet, but we're going to define the value of your greatest asset. We are going to be talking about discovering the power that is within you. We are going to be talking about cultivating the power of your marriage. We're going to talk about leveraging the power of others. And then after you get all charged up, all hyped, all ready to go, I'm going to talk about what's next and what you can do once you've identified all of these areas, right? But before I go any further, I have to just say, hey girl, hey, I want to say hello to everyone out there and introduce myself. I am Bree Carroll. I am the owner of B Carroll Events, which did wedding and event planning. I have since pivoted and have focused all of my heart and passion on being a marriage success coach. And I am the military marriage coach. I have been a GS employee, a civil engineer, keen problem solver and designer for 10 years for the Air Force. And I am the 2020-2021 Armed Forces Insurance Air Force Spouse of the Year. So let me stop really quick. If I have any military people out there, maybe you're a military spouse, maybe you have served or previously served, drop some hearts in the comments. Thank you so much for your service. I love my military community, so shout out to y'all. But let's head over to the best part. So the best part is that I am a mom of 3 little people that keep me on my toes. I can be the life of the party. You do not want to see me on this dance floor because, you know, we gonna battle. We gonna serve it up. I love romantic comedies. That is like my favorite pastime, to kind of kick it on the couch with a great movie. But my biggest accomplishment out of all of these things, out of all of the list of accolades that I could ever list, is that I have been happily married for 6 consecutive years. And I don't say that to brag. I say that because, one, it's not very common to have 6 consecutive years of being happily married, but also because as a child, I never wanted to get married. So let's let that sink in. I never wanted to get married. And it's because all of my life, I struggled with having healthy relationships. And I saw images of marriages and relationships that I didn't like at all. In my family, the males are usually really, not just the males, some of the females too, argumentative. So I grew up seeing arguments. And from a young age, my dad was always still like Superman to me. And I discovered that my father was being unfaithful to my mom. I did so nosily, got in trouble with that phone. I was going through his phone, and because I was the one that stumbled upon the information, he gave the burden to me to tell my mother, and it broke my heart, and it broke her heart as well. Going from that experience, I went in and out of damaging relationships, just getting relationship baggage, being cold to people and unable to just really balance things out. And it left me having an abortion alone. That wasn't even the worst part. No, it gets worse. I actually find myself in a 2-bedroom apartment that I paid for in Texas, in the bedroom, with the hands of a man that I said I would marry being wrapped around my neck as he's strangling me. This is a man that said that he would never hurt me, he would never hit me, and in his mind, he probably believes that he never did. And as I fought back, it seemed hopeless because his weight just leaned up against my chest. And as tears started to roll down my eyes, I remember looking at that popcorn ceiling and being able to get out the words, I don't see the God in you. I don't see the God in you. And even though those words were able to penetrate my vocal cords in that moment, I realized that I wasn't saying it to him at all. It was a message for myself. And as situations got me out of that relationship, I realized that I didn't see the God in my plans. He was missing in this equation because this wasn't the life that I was supposed to have. right? And as I started my journey of self-discovery and just becoming whole again and doing self-care, I clung to this scripture. And it's one that's familiar for many of you possibly, but it's Jeremiah 29:11. And it says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." And I just love how King James puts it, to give you an expected end. And an expected end is, I think, what a lot of us are after when it comes to this life. And as I work towards knowing what the word said about me and the plans that God had for me, I started working towards my expected end. And, I got on my fit pillar and I started working out. I was in Zumba, y'all. I was doing the things. I was in spin class, doing the things. I was working on my faith pillar. I got in the word. I started to pray and fast. And I got in that space pillar. I left that 2-bedroom apartment that the walls could tell stories for days. And I got into a new space, a fresh start. But one of the things that I had to work towards out of all these things was acquiring my greatest asset. Now, if you maybe know or think you know what the greatest asset is, let me know. Drop it in the comments if you think you know what the greatest asset. Give you a couple minutes, see what you drop down there. Spoiler alert, I did not get a house. Nope, a house wasn't my greatest asset. It wasn't an investment either. Nope, not an investment. My greatest asset, your greatest asset, you already have. You already have. And it's your mind. Your greatest asset is your mind. And oftentimes we don't think about it when it comes to our mind, but all of our relationships play a part in our mind. And when I talk about your greatest asset being your mind, let's break it down and make it like, let's bring it down a little bit more. Not just your brain, but your mind is your peace. Your mind is your clarity. It's your mindset. What value would you put on that? What dollar amount could you associate that to really bring it down to say my greatest asset is my mind, and that is worth, is it $1 million? Is it $1 billion? What is your mindset and clarity? What is that worth to you? What value do you associate with that? And I know some people may say it's priceless, but for the sake of just keeping it in the group, we're just going to break it down one time. Let's just call it $1 million. Your mind and peace and clarity, we'll just call it $1 million, all right? So when we talk about that mindset, and we talk about our mind, a way for us to get clear and get peace with our mind, we have to do a head count. We have to, because our relationships impact our mind and our mindset. People, relationships. That's the key to working on your mind and your mindset and having peace and having clarity, the relationships that you have around you. So I mentioned a little bit that I was a wedding and event planner, right? So when I'm talking about a head count, usually I'm talking to couples and we're planning an event and we're looking at a table similar to the one that you're seeing here. So I want to know who you have around your table. And we're going to walk through that as we talk about the different power relationships. So let's break things down. You already see there's 8 seats at a table. That's usually how people can be seated comfortably. You can get more, but go with me for now. We're going to go with 8, right? One of those seats, guess what, sis? You have to sit at the table. This is your table. You have to sit at the table. So you will be number 1. And then there are 7 additional seats that are at the table. I love 7, the number 7, number of completion. We're going to go with it. So I want you to start thinking about the 7 other people who will be sitting at your table, who is a part of this head count when it comes to you leveraging your greatest asset, which is your mind. So let's talk about yourself first. Relationship with yourself, because you have a seat at that table. And what I want to ask you when it comes to your relationship, or at least get you thinking about the power of the relationship that you have with yourself. What are you saying about yourself? And I listened to Brene Brown the other day, and I love the way she talked about guilt versus shaming. And oftentimes we're not even conscious about the words that we're saying. For example, if finances is something that you may struggle with, or you're trying to get better at, are you saying, I am horrible with finances? Like, I am dumb because I made this purchase. I got myself into all of this debt, and I am horrible for that. Or are you saying getting into debt was dumb? Like that was dumb. That wasn't smart. That wasn't wise. I didn't use wise counsel. You know, are you internalizing it and making it something that is you? Are you shaming yourself, or are you using guilt as a tool to teach yourself a lesson that you maybe won't repeat? What are you saying about yourself? And then from a scale of 1 to 10, come on, ladies, let's be real. How well are you showing up for yourself? Not your kids. If you're married, not your spouse, not your family. How well are you showing up for you? I feel like we get into this routine of having a whole lot of shoulds. Like, I should have did this. I should have spent more time. I should have self-care. I should have read that book. I should have applied for this. Ma'am, you shouldn't all over yourself. Don't shit on yourself. Clean that up. And let's form a relationship with ourselves that is healthy, that is going to give us what we need for our mindset, to give us peace. And a lot of that just has to do with identity. You have to know who you are and whose you are, and break that down so that you are confident and you are seeing the value in yourself, so that you can have a better relationship with yourself. But let's go on to the next relationship power that we're going to tap into. But well, before we do, the most common way people give up their power is by thinking they don't have any. You have to know the power that you have within you. You have to. If you don't know it, no one else will. If you're not fighting for yourself, if you're not speaking highly of yourself, if you are not affirming yourself, no one else will. And oftentimes we give up that power before we even tap into how great it is. So that's the power of relationship and forming that relationship with yourself. The next relationship. So all my single ladies, have a seat. I'm talking to my wonderful married people in the group. Again, if you're married, whoop, whoop, this is my area. I love y'all. But the relationship with your spouse, and this is some things to think about when it comes to the power of relationship with your spouse. Do you have a vision for your marriage? Like, in a relationship, in a marriage relationship, you should be working towards something, a common goal, a common vision. And oftentimes I find that couples do not have this. It's not necessarily that you didn't mean to, it's just you're on two different pages when it comes to this vision for yourself. When you think about yourself as a marriage goal, what is your marriage goal? What does that look like? For me, I have gray hair that's long and flowing. Nope, I'm not dying. I love my gray. I am on a beach. We are taking trips. My husband is flying us to new places. That is what the marriage goal that I'm going towards. I have a vision for that. Another question that I have for you guys is, if you do have that vision, are you affirming the vision that you have for your marriage? It's one thing to have something that is a lofty dream, and it becomes lofty because you're not acting it out, you're not walking it out, you're not doing things to go in that direction. And I love how a pastor said one time, God knows what you're working on based off of the direction that you're moving. Are you moving in the direction of having a more romantic marriage? Are you moving in the direction of financial freedom with your spouse? Are you moving in the direction of building a legacy with your spouse? Because let me tell you, your marriage, although it blesses you, the two people who are in it, other people are blessed in the overflow. So think about how you are harnessing the power of your relationship when it comes to your spouse. This is another way to really tap into and make that asset of your mind appreciate, because you have a team member who's on your side that's helping you charge that battery. So there's no greater power than love. And that's one of the things that you can really charge that battery of your mind up when it comes to the power of relationship, is through a healthy relationship with your spouse. So now let's talk about everybody else. Relationships with others. So when we're talking about the power of relationship, I really like to put stuff on this particular group, because this can be the group that really drains your battery. So the way that I like to think of this is, you've heard the terminology, birds of a feather flock together. But one of the ways that I like to think about it is, if you are the average of those in your circle that are sitting at that table, what value have you placed yourself at? Because you have the option. You have the choice of who is sitting around that table with you. You have the choice of saying that I want to be around people who are going to build me up. I'm going to be around people who are also trying to get debt free and build wealth. You have the choice of saying that just because we went to school together and we had play dates since we were in Pampers, that you opt to not have them at a seat at your table for this season because you're going for more. I know for us personally, and especially all of my purpose chasers out here, this group is a fantastic place for you to find other people to sit at the table with you. But are you investing in those relationships? Are you just posting and self-promoting for yourself, or are you trying to really form connections and bonds that will get you to the next level? I think there is something to be said about leveraging the power of relationships, especially in forms like this one. So one of the things that I actually love, Eleanor Roosevelt says, great minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, small minds discuss people. I don't think I have to elaborate on that. I think y'all get what I'm trying to say when it comes to that one. So now we're going to talk about these 3 relationship groups, and we're going to talk about the CARE method, CARE. It is a method that I came up with because y'all know I'm a civil engineer. It is my marriage bridge blueprint, but I found that the CARE method actually applies to a lot of different relationship types, and it helps you to do a head count check. These are some things that you can put up against your relationships and see if they pass the test to keep them at your table. So we'll start with CARE, careful consideration. When you're thinking about these different relationships, does this relationship add power or does it deplete your power supply? Think about yourself even. What are you doing in relationship with yourself that may be depleting your power supply? Because we will self-sabotage. We don't need help oftentimes. Think about it with your spouse. Think about it with other people. Now let's move down to A, assess the foundation. And in this area, we are talking about the root of a relationship. So is the relationship mutually beneficial and is it healthy? Do you have a healthy relationship with yourself? Do you have a healthy relationship with your spouse? Do you have healthy relationships with other people, or are they always taking and you're always giving? Are you receiving anything from these interactions with other people? As we talk about R, we're talking about reinforcing the structure, which is probably my favorite part, because a lot of people, when we deal with relationships, they're not focused on the structure of relationships. And the question here to get you thinking simply is, does the relationship need to be built up or does it need a boundary? So when I mean built up, I'm saying, is there some work that you need to do on that relationship? I think oftentimes people want to just pop in people's DMs and just say, hey, you're a person that I need at my table. Can you do this for me? That's not how it works. You have to build relationship, build rapport. And that may be a relationship that you've identified. This is the person I want at my table, but you have to work on that. You have to cultivate that relationship. You have to approach it from a different area, or maybe for your marriage. Maybe that is something you need to build up and get a plan together of how you're going to build that relationship. Or how about this? Let's talk about these boundaries. Does it need a boundary? Do you need to tell people that you operate in this box right here? This is where you live. You have to stay right here. And boundaries are very healthy when it comes to the power of relationships, because like we said with that first one, if they are depleting your power supply, if they are not making your asset of your mind appreciate and value, then they need a boundary. They can be a relative, you can love them dearly, but they don't get a seat at your table. You have to be selective with who is sitting at your table. The final E is engage and trust. And this question is simply, what is holding you back from accepting help or the changes that you need to make? What is holding you back? So engaging and trusting is, you know yourself. You do. I know oftentimes we may be ignoring the voice that's telling us that we need to do something different, but you know when a relationship is unhealthy. You know when you might need a break. You have to trust yourself. But what is holding you back from that? What is holding you back from accepting help? Help. I know we have a lot of independent people. We want to stand on our own too. But the reality is, if you want to succeed and go farther, you need people. You need a squad. You need a team. And listening to successful people, I feel like we glaze over the power of relationships and how really that is the story to be told in these successes. It's not the individual person. Yes, they did a lot to overcome things and to get their mindset right, but somebody wrote that book that they read to get their mind right. Somebody was their coach. Somebody offered them or were able, in a position to bless them, to take them from one location to another. Accept the help and be willing to make the changes. So we've just went through our power study. We've defined our greatest valuable asset, which is our mind. We talked about discovering the power that is within us, each and every one of us. We talked about how we can cultivate the power of our marriage and how we can operate in that overflow, and it can be a blessing for other people as we get that vision of what we're working towards and we're affirming that. We talked about leveraging the power of others and being selective about who is at the table, sitting at the table with you so that you can succeed. So now we are here, you are charged up, you are ready to go. You know the power of relationships. You know that you need relationships to succeed. So sis, now what? Now what? I'll tell you, now it's time for you to get a plan. You need to form a plan now that you've identified the key players that you need to be successful and who you are going to have at your table. You need to start building a plan. So oftentimes you've heard things being said like, you will only succeed to the extent you are willing to grow. I would like to say that they leave something off when they talk about you'll only succeed to the extent that you're willing to grow. I think they need to start talking about relationships, because 80% of that growth is based off of your relationships. We don't think about that component. Yeah, you could be willing to grow, but if you are still around old people with old mindsets who want to keep you in old places, you won't grow. So here's what I'm going to do, because I absolutely love my purpose chasers out here. I am going to offer some things. As you know, I am a marriage success coach. I love coaching on relationships. And although I typically exclusively serve my military community because there is a great need in that community, I am opening up 5 one-on-one coaching sessions for my purpose chasers. This will be for a power hour where we can sit down and we can look at your plans and set goals for you to accomplish that goal that maybe you have sitting out there that you've always wanted to do. Now that you understand the power of relationships, you maybe have identified some people that you need to asked kindly to get up and empty their seat and move away from your table. This is a goal setting and a clarity power hour that will help you to create the steps needed to move up and level up so that you can have a purpose-driven life and move into the goals and the things that you want to do. So we're going to gain clarity, and this can be for those who are married, this can be those who are single. It is all about goal setting, and it's all about reclaiming your greatest asset, which is your mind. So power hour goal setting. What are we going to be doing in the power hour goal setting? I'm glad you asked. Well, we're going to define our goals, and in a clear way, we're going to lay them out and structure them. You'll have a primary goal that we will focus on for the hour once we laid out your big goals. And don't worry, I'll break it down in the session so you understand. You'll have several goals possibly, but there's one in particular that's going to stand out for you, and that's what we'll focus on for the power hour. We will design a plan to achieve that goal. We will evaluate the relationships and maybe some changes that need to happen with your relationships to meet that goal. It could be identifying a mentor. It could be identifying a program that you might want to get in, a book that you want to read, a person that you may need to work on building up that relationship. And then we are going to create a script for those tough conversations. And tough conversations may be a conversation that you need to have with your spouse. It could be a conversation for someone that you're asking for some healthy boundaries with, because you're maybe moving them out of that head table that you maybe had them seated in. Or it could be a conversation with someone who you greatly look up to, but you are afraid to ask them for help or to join your table. So that's what you'll get in that power hour. That is a breakdown. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer any regarding what you would have. So for these types of sessions, typically a 60-minute session is valued at $250. But for you guys, because like I said, I'm only opening up 5 of them for my purpose chasers, you can do it at a rate of $97 for this session, and that is with your end of session eval. So it's $97 value with your post session eval. So you may be wondering, how can I be down, right? How can you join and be a part of the session? How can you set things up? Because you know that you need clarity in your relationships. You need to establish these goals. Well, you can simply head over to bcarolevents.com/pop-up, bcarolevents.com/pop-up. It's on the screen, and you can the link is there for you to set up an appointment on the calendar. Save your spot. Again, 5 spots. That's what I have for my purpose chasers. That's what I wanted to give back to this community, because I want to see your relationships thrive, because I know when your relationships thrive, then you can do more and go farther, because you are in a healthy space, because you're working on that greatest asset, which is your mind. Let's set some goals. Let's get clear on it, and let's continue to build and grow. So for everyone else who maybe this isn't a session that you want to do, I still want to keep connected with y'all. You know, I'm going to be here in the Purpose Chaser community. You can definitely stay connected with me on Facebook at bcarolevents. Instagram is the same, bcarolevents. Website is bcarolevents.com, and my email is there as well. I would invite you to check out the website, join the newsletter, as I continue to encourage people on having healthy relationships, leveraging the power of relationships, and growing healthy and sustainable marriages. Thank you so much for sharing with me today. Again, if I have anybody in the military community, be sure to reach out to me. I would love to connect with you. I'll be doing a lot of things this year as it relates to Military Marriage Day, as I'm the founder of that. That'll be August the 14th. And I would love to hear your perspective on how the military community is treating you, how your marriage is doing, and how I can be a resource to you. So thank you, everyone. I'm so honored to have had the time. Patrice, thank you for the opportunity. Y'all continue to chase purpose, and I'm here in the group if you need anything. And I'll leave you with one last thing. I absolutely love Dr. Maya Angelou, and she has a quote that I feel like is relevant and all of us can take away from. And it says, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Y'all have a good night.